Get underway. Welcome to our September meeting. It was to be our final council meeting, but it is our final full council meeting. Next week we do have a couple of items before the end of term, but I'd especially like to acknowledge Al's wife, Caroline, who's here today. So I'm sure with you here, he'll be on his best behaviour. we hope anyway. Anyway, lovely to have you with us. And right, so next week I was planning that there'd be an opportunity for both Neville and Al, who are the only ones that know that they're retiring voluntarily, and if they wish, an opportunity for a final end of term remarks, which would be most welcome. So Parliament call those valedictories, but never really had that sort of term here, but I'd be really happy if you want to do that then. I was going to do that today, but I thought I should give you a bit of notice. Talking with Sarah yesterday, so I think next week, if you're happy to do that, we'll provide an opportunity. We'd welcome your reflections and of both of you, many years of service to this district. So I look forward to that next week. Any apologies for today? Any conflicts of interest?
Just one more step aside, Force Bridge.
Do you really have a conflict in that?
I'm not sure what I've set aside and do whatever you like, Mr. Chetman.
Would you dance in a circle around?
You leave the room.
well, I'll leave that to you to make that call. Yeah, okay, it's a Wolf's Road. But I do look forward to seeing you dancing around the circle, since you said you do whatever I like, so. That could be entertaining for the last term, couldn't it, David? Yeah. You've got the camera to capture it? That's one way to get yourself in the paper, Tim, so there we are. I'd like to acknowledge Kelly here today as Acting Chief Executive. Is this your first full council meeting with us? Possibly one.
I think so.
So we'll hopefully be easy on her today. It's more than up to the task, so thank you very much, Kelly, for stepping in. Acknowledgements are just like, there's a couple of things. Yesterday I attended the New Zealand Police Remembrance Ceremony, and they do this every so often, and it's to remember those who have fallen. I just wanted to acknowledge that here. I thought it was a very special service, and at the Justice Precinct yesterday, and just forget sometimes the level of risk that our officers put themselves on the line for our safety and security. So it was a special and very poignant moment, especially with the officer who was unfortunately killed earlier in the year, which was a particular moment. There was a reading of a poem called The Thin Blue Line, and if you haven't ever heard that, it's very moving indeed. Actually, as one of our local officers reflected to me at the time, because I do acknowledge officers who've served and those who've passed, he said when that poem's recited, because I saw him quite welled up, that his name may well be there in the future. So, and it's just a remembrance of that for the service that they get, not necessarily for the other, but just thought that was just something to acknowledge. The other was last night I opened the Oceania Championship, which is the model sailing out at Pegasus, and there's over 68 competing out there from all over the world, as it turns out. So, and there were well over 100 people there at the Good Home. So that's happening over the next coming days. So it's worth a look if anyone's out that way to see what they've done. And they were just commenting that we have nothing like this anywhere else in the country that they're aware of, and it's the best location for racing this particular class of Mollygot. So it's a world of its own, and I was very enthused with one of my own actually after listening to where they're at in Kaipoi High School. Students came and did a cover haka performance. It was amazing. So lovely night. So it's nice. Last week we had the National Dog Show here. This week we host an international tournament. So it's all go in the Waimakariri. All right. So just with that, is there any other acknowledgements? Come to confirmations. Sorry.
Just the St John Ambulance awards that I attended in Cheviot. I'm neglected to actually get the awards, but there were two 45-year awards, so I'll drop the names of those people into your box so that they know, so that you know who they were. There were many awards for St John given in North Canterbury and certainly in our district, and particularly with the shop turning 5 years, so 5-year badges were awarded for all of the volunteers that work in the shop as well. But yeah, really good night out at Cheviot, and some pretty powerful awards given out there. So.
Well, thank you for attending that. I was not unfortunately, but I had a number of events that night, including our Rangiora Fire Brigade, and it was nice to see. Was it your wife that was recognised that night, Jason? So for her service. So thank you, Neville. That's very appropriate to recognise. Right, confirmation of minutes. We come to item 4.1. Someone prepared to move. Councillor Manning, seconded. Councillor Goldsworthy. Any discussion points? Support that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Any matters arising? Come to deputations and presentations. I've received no notification of those, but no adjourned business. We come to reports, item 7.1, proposed amendments to roading and stockwater bylaw policies, pages 24 to 66. So Joanne, Jason, Sylvia and Janet, who's leading this today? Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this report aligns management operational approval requirements with new resource consent requirements that have been introduced through the district plan review. So because some comprehensive consultation has been undertaken through the district plan review, then further consultation is not required for these minor administrative changes to the bylaw and policies within this report. Jason, did you have any comments? So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just note that in 4.9 it talks about the stockwater rates bylaw review and the requirement to go through that process. Is this related in any way to our intentions to do sort of rating review for water? Will it sit alongside prospective sort of rating review and how we rate our water and our services, or will the bylaw review go ahead? Because I know we talked about in the next term, whoever sits in these seats will have to do a rating.
The bylaw review is mandatory for a new bylaw within 5 years and for an existing bylaw within 10 years. So this is the required LGA review timeline, but any water rating implications can be included within that review.
Oh, they can be included within that, so that's yeah.
So the review
so that's a
can
possibility.
include all,
Yep. Okay. Thank
all
you.
of the
Yes, we wouldn't have to do it twice necessarily. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? Did you wish to move that then, Councillor Fulton?
I'm happy to move that. Thank you,
Seconder.
Mr Mayor. Yep.
Councillor Williams, would you like to speak to it, Councillor Fulton?
I'd just like to say that I thank you for the diligence of picking up these minor changes and amendments. Some of them are quite minor, but I'm sure they're quite important in their own way. So thank you.
Councillor Williams?
No, just thank you. This requirements has to be done, so thank you.
Any further speakers? Sorry? I'll put then if there's no further speakers, unless you want to write a reply, Councillor Fulton, to yourself. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thanks, team. Hopefully that's a sign of today's debate to come. It might be nice and quick. Now I've said that, I just regret that. Item 7.2, annual report on dog control. Billy.
Good morning. As you're aware, we've got to present this every year, and I'll take it as read and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Some are prepared to move. Councillor Ward, seconded. Councillor Williams. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Billy, I just want to say thank you to you and your team. This is a very important part of keeping our roads and our areas safe and looking after the dogs. You do an amazing job of relocating lost animals, and it's a really, really good service that you do to our community. So thank you and your team.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Williams. Endorse those remarks. We do, I think our team do an excellent job with dog control, and we have a very high level of dog ownership in this district. So the level of incidents we have, which are where they are, still are, we're, I think, fortunate with the team that we have. It's always it's a difficult time when after hours calls come through and there's dogs and other things, and I think that's well managed. So thank you to you and the team for what you do, Billy.
Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Blakey?
Billy, when the metal tags first came up, some reservations were expressed about wear and tear on them and not being able to read the barcode and all that sort of problem. Have you had any feedback at all over the year or however long it's been?
So it's been in for 2 years. The first year we got a few complaints. We've hardly, I think we've had 2 in the last 6 months. So, yeah, so generally speaking, it's going well.
Thank you.
Would you like to, I'll come to you in a second. Please you note the right of reply, Councillor Ward. Any further speakers? Right of reply, Councillor Ward.
I just want to reconfirm that Bo's tag looks really just like new after 2 years, so there shouldn't be an issue.
Bo, the #1 dog of the district and the ward households. Right, we'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you. So we come to, thanks Billy, number 7.3, which is council submissions to central government consultations. So Sylvia, thank you.
Good morning. This is a regular report sharing with you the final submissions that have been sent through to central government consultations on behalf of the council. 2 significant ones probably worth highlighting from this recent round of submissions is the Local Government Systems Improvements Bill and the proposed toll for the Wood End bypass. You'll see in the report that I also mentioned staff are still working at the moment on 2 submissions and we're aware of legislation proposals that are going to come through between now and December, so this is a continual process for us. We'll be here to support the new council with any submissions in the new term.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Atkinson and Redmond. Yep.
Sylvia, just it's a bit of a hardy annual of mine that's been around for a wee while, but I just noticed under 5.1, no tuhariri, hapu are not likely to be affected. I'd suggest that's not true within the, certainly within the housing submission. Is that, have we glazed over that piece in the report, or is that, has it been discussed at all, or?
We have discussed certain submissions, not all submissions that we do, but certainly the one related to the Wood End bypass, there was discussions.
Mr. Mayor, can I just make a wee note that I think we need to pay more attention to that, because certainly in our submissions it's discussed around the table and comes to us most times. So I think we need to just put that a wee bit in our submissions, that they are affected with what we do around the table.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it can be noted by our team. Thank you. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you, Sylvia. I note in F there is reference to a number of ongoing or current submissions, one of them being the Code of Conduct.
Yes.
I think that's due round about now. Is there any reason why that submission couldn't be circulated to councillors?
I believe the draft submission was circulated to council last week. Yep. The timing of preparing this report, we did not have that draft submission ready to include. So the final version, once it's submitted, will be included in a report to the new council.
I made a submission in response to that. My question is there any reason, given that that submission will be going in round about now, why it couldn't be circulated to the current council?
Well, you made your submission points to the governance inbox, Councillor, so you didn't share it with everyone, your points.
I thought we go back through governance.
Well, it went through there the other day, so hasn't been finalised yet. When it's finalised, it will be, that delegation rests with myself and the Chief Executive to sign that off based on the feedback. I'm waiting for Jeff to return tomorrow before finalising that.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Just some of the discussions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of the discussions I've been following lately, and it's actually more around the election process than anything else, but the extent to which governments and perhaps local governments are actually lobbied externally for how, to make particular submissions. Do we ever receive any external sort of correspondence from organisations or individuals from outside council, you know, for us to prepare a submission in a certain way, and what sort of, and how do we acknowledge that so that people can see the extent to which we are, you know, given external lobbying or receive lobbying, if you put it that way. Yeah, it's a very broad question, I know, but...
Certainly at my level, I'm not aware of that.
No.
I would imagine if anything came in, it would come into management. Yeah, I'm not aware of any.
No. Okay, all right.
Thank you. Any further questions? There's a recommendation, so I'm prepared to move. Councillor Ward, seconded Councillor Atkinson, Deputy Mayor Atkinson. Would you like to, either of you like to speak?
I'd just like to say that I think 29 submissions this year has been absolutely huge, and I just really want to say a big thank you to Sylvia and the team. We're so lucky to have you and your experience and expertise to guide us through all of this humongous work that you've had to do. So I just want to say we really appreciate what you do for us, so thank you.
Yeah, look, just my questions before. I want to just want to say that it's not a reflection on what happens here. It's just that I think it needs more attention, and always have thought that it needs more attention. That particular statement, it's easy to make a statement, but if we don't follow through on the statement and actually do some inquiring and put things in our reports that reflect what we're asking, then I think that lets us down a little bit. In saying that, you know, the amount of submissions that get chucked at us over 12 months is just getting beyond a joke, to be quite honest. And your team does an absolute great job at putting together what it is that we want, and of course the representation of the public of what we're putting forward. So thank you for what you've done right throughout the year with submissions, and I'm sure that it won't ease up next year, so all the best for that.
I'd just like to add that not all councils have the expert capacity that we do on staff, and I work with the staff at the back end of this as we get our opportunity to have obviously put our feedback in where there's time. The particular one Councillor Redmond referenced only just came out of left field. There was so little time in which to get it circulated, but you know, our staff put their head down and got something put to us pretty quickly. I just want to acknowledge that. I know we work in with the likes of Local Government New Zealand and Taitara. They might do some of the initial lifting of that, but a lot of councils just rely heavily on those organisations that don't have the internal capacity or expertise to do that, and we're so lucky we do here. The number of submissions that come via here, that's not only just with our council, the Canterbury Mayoral Forum, all those other bodies which we're involved with, that we're constantly called upon for views and others. And I know we are so lucky to have what we do here internally, as well as our senior staff who also provide, general managers provide that advice and guidance. It's a bit of a minefield at times, and we're balancing that very carefully. I know the government have an agenda and they want to get it done, but catching up with that and understanding what the consequences are, we're so lucky with what we have, and that gives an indication here of the level of workload that's going on upstairs. So thank you for Sylvia, if you could please extend that on behalf of the council to your team. Any further speakers? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for all your work on this, Sylvia, and thank you for weaving all of the points that mean a lot to us around this table in our community into these submissions, particularly things like bringing to attention the further consideration of our existing planning frameworks, which we have gone to great lengths to put in place, which will ensure that continuity and efficiency of that infrastructure and development planning, as it says here in the report, and things like the advocacy for no tolls on the Wood End bypass, as an example, because that's going to cause more problems than it solves. And pointing out things like growth paying for growth, where we're in a very constrained environment where debt funding and rates are our only options, but at the same time,
we have lots of pressure coming from both sides saying, hey, keep rates low, keep debt levels low, but at the same time, build infrastructure. We are often put in impossible situations by unfunded mandates by the government, and I really appreciate particularly the way that you have pointed that out in these submissions. I really love the added touch of the taxation as a percentage of GDP in New Zealand versus rates that you put into that submission. You've got some really great things that you've captured in here, which I think will stand us in good stead for making what's important to our communities known to the government. Let's just hope they pay attention. So cheers.
Thanks, Nikki. Any further speakers? Right, reply, Councillor Ward. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you. Item 7.4, so it's time for your dance, Tim.
Not yet, not yet.
You can stay in the room if you would like to hear the discussion. So Grant, we're now at item 7.4, which is the Wolf's Road Footbridge Society Incorporated Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you. I was looking forward to that dance, actually.
So was I.
I'll take the report as read. Just one thing that I will say, just a little bit of background with the group. Obviously, we bought a workshop on this earlier this year, just around what exactly it is that the group are wanting to achieve. From there, they have started meeting. They've become incorporated as a society, and they're having ongoing meetings and actually making some really good progress there as well. What I do understand is they have some funding streams lined up, which they're currently working towards, so that actually sounds all very positive. In terms of that, the last step for them really is kind of, I guess, a mandate from the council for them to begin that work, which this MOU provides for them. So happy to take questions on the report.
Thank you. Any questions on the report, Councillor Williams?
Yes, staff time on it. Is it open-ended, or have you got a dollar figure to go to, or an hourly figure to go to, or?
To be fair, the group's kind of running it mostly themselves. So, look, we're invited to each of their meetings. Realistically, the majority of our work's probably been putting the MOU together in the report. From there, I'd expect that it'll be, maybe an hour here, an hour there, either at their monthly meetings or just them checking in with us with an email and us having to maybe review a plan or something like that.
So it would involve hundreds of dollars rather than thousands of dollars?
Yeah, look, over the course of the project, look, if this runs 5 years, you'd expect that would get into the thousands rather than the hundreds, but to be fair, the group are mostly running it themselves.
Any further questions? Well, I'm going to move from the chair the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Menz. Just in speaking to that, I just want to acknowledge firstly the effort that's gone into this, and particularly to acknowledge Councillor Tim Fulton, who I think is doing an outstanding job on this. This is a project that has been looking for someone to sponsor and work with it for some time. It's a council asset that's sitting there. It has been for some time in a derelict state. We, I think, have an obligation to be supporting this. Where the resources lie in the future and where that will be, let's see where the group get to. I know what the community expectation is. A lot of us went to the initial meetings where this was established, and there is quite a body of people, including original family members, that stepped up and were present and have shown a great deal of enthusiasm. There's apparently some resource in the community. We shall see what comes about, but this is an example of local councillors doing their job really well, and I want to acknowledge the effort that Tim has put in here. I realise that's to a degree a private capacity, but it's actually been in his professional capacity as well. So Tim, job well done. Both you and Nikki worked very hard in your area, and especially this one here is a project that I think has been very worthy of our consideration and some staff resource to support it. It's not calling on a big amount of resource or time. It's actually making sure that we're doing the right thing by our asset. And if we don't, we're neglecting our responsibility. So I hope that this is successful. I hope it's able to be restored, and I look forward to the efforts of this group. It's a real private-public partnership in action, and the level of activity that's also involved our community board out there shows that level of partnership and the strength. So I really encourage colleagues to support this today. Councillor Mears.
Thank you. I would just like to also echo the sentiments that you said, Mr. Mayor. This bridge was gifted to us. It was a privately built bridge. It was gifted to the council many years ago, I think pre-amalgamation, if I'm not wrong. And it's just been sitting there languishing. Whenever it came up as a question of what to do with it, the community really expressed a very strong desire to keep it, but it wasn't without its problems. It wasn't an easy fix. And you know, where that was going to sit, it basically was waiting for a very long time for somebody like Councillor Fulton down there with a passion for history and historic landmarks and energy to get out there and circle the wagons and rally the troops. And it's found its champion, and it has gained a whole society of people willing to put in the hard yards of their own time and effort to bring it back to its former glory. Now, I would like to also point that decommissioning, so we've had several reports about this bridge come to us as a community board over the last 6 years. Now, decommissioning this bridge also carried a considerable cost to leave us with nothing. So it would have cost us quite a bit just to take it down and make it safe. So supporting this MOU and the group to carry out its work not only enables an outcome that the community have clearly communicated that it wants with the restoration of this bridge, but it is also a more fiscally prudent approach that saves the decommissioning costs and allows the Wolf's Road Footbridge Society to access the external funding that the council wouldn't be able to access, being that it's an independent organization. So this is just a win-win all around. I hope you will support this. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and it just shows what community can do when they get together.
Thanks, Councillor Mannings. Any further speakers? Councillor Blakey, then Ward.
Very briefly, reiterate what's been said. I think that's a very fair and balanced report. Thanks, Grant. The MOU, well put together too, and covers the field nicely. I reiterate again that Council is not putting money into the construction phase of this, and that's the way it should be at this stage, but I'd urge everybody to support this motion too.
Thank you, Councillor Ward.
I will be supporting this motion, and I really want to say a big thank you to Councillor Fulton for picking this up and running with it and making it happen. It's very important to the history of Oxford and the people of Oxford, and I think he's done an amazing job of pulling the community together to save council funding to get this together. There's nothing like a private-public partnership to get things done, and being a private part of the partnership, it means that you can go for external funding, which saves the ratepayers and the council funding. So well done, Tim. Great work, and I fully support this.
Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. I too will be supporting the memorandum of understanding. I think the main thing I take from this is we may have the bridge retained, which I recall discussing years ago that we were going to decommission it. The result of this is very much a significant saving to the council and ratepayers. So I certainly have no qualms with the group utilising any staff resource to guide them. In fact, I think that's essential. So it's a win-win, it seems to me. So congratulations to Councillor Fulton, Councillor Mealings and others associated with it.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Keynes.
Albeit briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm if you were to look at the hierarchy of needs in terms of council, this would rank very, very low because of we're always trying to balance our books. But I admire the volunteers that come out of the woodwork in terms of the likes of Councillor Fulton and Mallings that have put their hand up and actually putting time and effort into this particular project and adding value to the community, and I congratulate them for doing that. And I congratulate all the other volunteers that add value to our community. I even say Northbrook Reserve, the food forest that was kicked off on the weekend. Volunteers adding value to our community. You know, it's just wonderful work. So congratulations, I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Yeah, nice words about, because Councillor Ward and Board Member McClure led that exercise at the weekend with your fine stewardship, Councillor King. So sort of like, it's like a mutual admiration society here today, isn't it? Any further speakers?
May I just say, so I would just like to clarify that whilst I appreciate your appreciation, this is Tim's project. He is the one that's formed the society. He is the one who's got the people together. He is the one who's there driving the working bees. It's not me. I support this, and absolutely in my capacity as a councillor and the support for that and anything I can do in the back room. But he's the guy out there on the ground doing it, and I don't want to take any of the shine off of that for Tim because it's all him.
Any further speakers? No need to exercise a right of reply. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Declare that carried. You can have a dance back to your seat now, Tim. Thank you, Graham. All right, so we're at 7.5.
Just clear a conflict of interest here, really, shouldn't I? I'm going to withdraw from the table anyway.
It's not. I don't think we're at you yet, are we?
We're jumping the gun here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I want to leave to quite.
Sarah, do you want to lead this on behalf of
So
the Chief
this
Executive?
report brings you information regarding an amended risk pool trust deed and just retrospectively authorising Chief Executive, who has actually signed the document on behalf of the council. So we take the report as read.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Someone prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor Bryan? Seconded. Councillor Goldsworthy? Would you like to speak?
No, thanks, it's fine.
Anyone else like to speak? I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. While that's been signed, it was needed the time done, but it's actually fairly straightforward. It's really important that we have our agreement there, so thanks, Sarah. Right, so 7.6, this is your moment, Councillor Lecky.
I'm happy to leave the room if it's easier for the.
Oh, you can.
Without me.
You can remain here if you wish. I think we'd be very foolish not to accept your offer, but personally, but I'm just saying that. All right, Chris, please.
There's a couple of options which are presented in the report. One option is to approve a short-term appointment for Al Blackie to remain on Te Kohaka O2 Ata Trust up until the 31st of March. That option would allow council then to make a decision about whether they wanted to have an elected councillor on the trust, or alternatively, the second option, recommendation C, is to approve Al Blackie remaining as council-appointed trustee until the 30th of September 2027. You wouldn't have the option of then having a councillor on the trust, as Al Blackie is not standing in this election. Happy to take any questions from council.
Thank you. Either option B or C, which one would be detrimental to Al's marriage if we approved? Sorry, you don't have to answer that. Councillor Billings.
Just out of curiosity, as it hasn't really been laid out in this report, if we were to approve the short-term appointment of council, Mr. Al Blackie to be. And would we then have the option, if we got to the end of that term and did not, for some reason, want or desire to put a councillor or elected member on that board, could we then extend his term out to the end of his term?
Yeah, so the trustee just says that council has to appoint 3 people. It doesn't say that they have to be councillors, so you would have to either do a recruitment process or make a decision if Al wanted to continue on the board. Yep.
Would that then constitute a full new term at that point if we just, or would it just be an extension to the end?
The council can make the decision.
So basically by choosing B, we keep all of our options open and we can confer with the man in question as time goes by.
That's true, you do.
Okay, thank you.
Looking at B, my question is October 25 to 31st of March 26. Is that too short a term for Mr. Al Blackie to be totally effective? Or Dr. Al
Yes,
Blackie,
Doctor.
sorry.
Dr. Al Blackie.
Be totally effective, my question is, wouldn't it be more prudent for him to have more long-term, given the wonderful service that he's given to the trust, and so that he can be more effective?
The idea of making sure that we've got someone in the short term or the long term, if the council chooses that way, is for that consistency. Al Blackie's been the chair of the trust a number of times and is the current chair of the trust. So if Al Blackie was to be removed as of the 11th of October, that wouldn't provide that consistency and continuity of decision making, especially in a time where the trust is moved back to the basics of what they're doing and have some new staff. So having it to the 31st of March still allows you to extend that if you want to. It's your decision.
Thank you. Any further question?
No.
You're entering into the realm of debate, so we'll
Yeah.
come back to you in a second. Councillor Atkinson or Deputy Mayor has indicated he's going to move, so we'll come to him in a minute. So we've got Councillor Fulton, then Redmond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm familiar with some organisations. They have a sort of a transitional period particularly for bringing new people onto boards and trustees. Do we have that facility at the moment? Do we have sort of observers or people who could be sort of blooded in, so to speak? Because it seems like the particular skill set will be required, and not just of the organisation, but of the people and what's gone before. Is there any capacity to do that, to sort of, I suppose, transition someone in?
There would be capacity to be able to do that. The current trustees and the staff are really, really good and would be interested, I'm sure, in sharing the background knowledge that they have. But at the moment, there hasn't been something.
It's not actually constituted as to have an observer or a... No, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. I realise it's our decision here, but has Councillor or Mr. or Dr. Blackie expressed a preference?
We've had a brief conversation about it. The conversation talked about the fact that B is definitely something which he would like to be able to continue to provide that service for the trust. However, if it was option C, while that goes to September 2027, Al would still obviously have the option of resigning at any point if he so felt that he needed to, because there were other commitments that he may have outside of doing that trust work. So the options are still reasonably flexible.
So did he not express a preference between B or C?
Not at the time, no.
Thank you.
Could I just ask the public gallery member, if someone was to move that, for example, I don't know if they are, would you have any objection to staying through till the longer, lengthier period to 2027, or would you prefer the shorter term?
As Chris has just said, it still leaves options open at my end anyway.
If you get higher instructions from up the chain.
Yeah, something like that.
Any objections, Caroline? No, I won't ask you that. Right. Any further questions? Then Deputy Mayor, what are you moving?
C.
So A, C and D. Seconded, Councillor Ward. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, look, I think the questions have actually summed up the answer, and that is that it'll be Al's choice on whether he decides to stay to 27, and as long as the job is being done right, which it has been up till now, and the knowledge is needed in there. I mean, the trust is going as best as it can. It's going to have some difficulties. Funding's becoming difficult to find for anybody, and consistency in there is something that I think is absolutely required. The bit that will need, because the trustees will be outside of council, which is no particular problem, the council will need to take particular notice of its SOI and all of the understandings that it has between the trustees and the trust. Still have to report back here, still have to do all of the things that you normally do. So I just don't see that it's a problem. I mean, we have trusts that report back here all the time on what they do. And whether you appoint a councillor or not is almost irrelevant. It's around what you put, the rules that you put to that trust, which must be carried out, are the things that will make the difference. And in this instance, I think that's the way to go. And certainly, in my view, being a trustee on this trust, I don't see that the end of March is actually anywhere long enough, because you won't have a new council. Will only just be starting to settle in and only just be starting to do the things that it does. And understanding the trust for new members will take some time. Tours, all those sorts of things that are done at the starts of seasons to get your head around these places. This is one that if we do it in the way that I'm recommending, then I think that that will give you time to make some decisions after that. So I hope you'll support that.
Thank you, Councillor Ward.
I'll be supporting this. I'm really delighted that that Al is happy to stay the course. He's been the strong link through troubled times on this trust, and he's supported this through changing times and challenging times, and we need to be very grateful to him for the work that he's done in holding this whole entity together. So I think it's really important that we have the continued knowledge and the continued leadership going forward for quite considerable time until it's running like a Swiss watch again. And so, Al, thank you so much for your work, and Caroline, thank you so much for coping with his dedication. We really appreciate it.
Any further speakers? I endorse those remarks, and I know exactly how much Al puts into this, because he keeps myself and the Chief Executive and our staff well briefed. The role of chair particularly has been one that Al's fulfilled and I think done a superb job. It's never easy being, sometimes when you're in a bit of change, and navigating your way through that, staffing and all other issues. So I think not only has Al brought an expertise, but also his passion for that area there, and I fully support him remaining. There may well be post-council, post-election, a particular councillor that expresses a view of wanting to be there, and let's work through that. It might be a transition period where it would be good to have another elected member at some stage, fulfil that and understand that, and maybe make that transition. But in the interim, the trust needs certainty more than anything else at a time when there's a lot of change going on, as the Deputy Mayor has indicated. We have plenty of ability to change through the SOI, to express our opinion, and knowing how Al works, I have no hesitation in him fulfilling that responsibility on behalf of our council. I'd also like to acknowledge the Deputy Mayor, who also serves on that trust in his own right, who's been there for many, many years, who also brings a skill set. So very pleased that you're continuing there as well. This is no different to external appointments like Canterbury Museum, where we have former Mayor David fulfilling that on behalf of jointly between ourselves and the Hiranui. And I think David does a superb job there representing our interests. So Thanks, Al, for agreeing to that. Hopefully we haven't caused too many issues by extending that further, but I'm sure you can let us know in due course if things change. So, any further speakers? Right of reply? No. Put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Right. Water services, 7.7, Gerard and Kelly and Harriet.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and councillors. The purpose of this report is for you to consider a recommendation to the incoming council on how it wants to establish a governance structure for the water services. So you'll be well aware we have a water service delivery plan that has been approved by the Department of Internal Affairs. Part of that does indicate us setting up a separate governance structure for water services. Water services are going to be heavily regulated, so a huge amount of compliance in the way we deliver that service. We're going to have to bring quite a compliance mindset to the way we operate, the way we do our asset management, and the way we do our governance. So it's important that the council has a clear governance structure. We did consider a number of options. Subcommittee, probably the really key thought around a subcommittee is it doesn't necessarily bring all of the council's members to the table on that for such an important committee. Having a separate water services committee that was a council as a whole was considered. Logistically, that would actually be a bit challenging because you then end up having to set a specific time, which wouldn't necessarily work. So the recommendation is to actually have a section of a council meeting that is specifically partitioned for considering water services. So you've got the whole council present. And we just thought, given we'll have a new council coming in and having to make decisions on how they set up committee structures, it'd be good to get a recommendation from this council. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. And before there'll be questions, but just remember this is just a recommendation to the incoming council. It may well, and I'm sure, depending on how that is and who's where we get to post-election, there'll be a lot of discussion. So I don't really want to get bogged down in too much detail today because this will be revisited in a few months, well, a month or so's time. So any questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Might fall foul of that already, I'm not sure. But just generally, you talked about the compliance mindset. Does that mean that actually that you give consideration to have sort of technical expertise in here? Because we're a body of councillors, we're not, we're not experts, and you guys are. So what sort of expertise broadly do you think needs to be brought to bear?
We haven't actually recommended that is necessary, and that would be something. Look, I was at a workshop yesterday organised by Water New Zealand in Christchurch as a precursor to the Water Conference this year, and we had presentations from the Commerce Commission, Department of Internal Affairs, Te Mata Arawai, and they really were hammering home the issue of compliance. They, as you'll be well aware, anyone who's setting up a CCO will be having boards that the CCO reports to, and they were pushing the importance of having people with expertise on those boards. That is, and there were comments such as council should consider having independent members on their committee. I know our council, this current council, has considered that on a number of occasions in terms of our Audit and Risk Committee, as an example. And I think, so in preparing this report, look, Chief Executive, I had quite a number of discussions in bringing this up. That would be something that the new council could consider. It has not been addressed in this. One thing we will be making sure we do at a staff level, and it'll be an important part for me, is make sure we've got the right staff with the right expertise. You will be well aware we were the second in the country to get our water service delivery plan approved. We have got all of our water services effectively with the Ohoka plant coming on board fully compliant. So we're fully compliant on water wastewater, we've got network discharge consents for our stormwater, we've got a well-considered asset management plan. So as a council, you can have a lot of confidence that we've got our ship well and truly in order going into this. So that'll be really a consideration for the council, and it's not been, that debate has not been open on this report.
It's not prescribed as to having outsiders or in-house or anything.
No, it is not. It is not. And I'll just remind you, one of the rationale for keeping a business unit rather than a CCO was integration with the rest of the council, shared overheads, and reduced costs to the ratepayer. So our costing has not allowed for paying for external governance into this committee, but that would just be something that Newcastle would need to think about if it wishes to turn its mind to that.
So just, colleagues, before we get into too much, this is recommending it sits within the council as a special dedicated section at our council meetings. Is anyone in disagreement with that direction? Before we get into a whole, because these things can be resolved at a later stage. If there's any clarifying points, fine, but otherwise we can debate this till the cows come home, and we've got a lot of business to get through today. So is there any clarifying points? Otherwise I'm going to call for recommendations. Minor points, major points, yes? Councillor Mannings?
Thank you. Jared, this governance arrangement was something that maybe a lot of us hadn't really thought about before, as to having to separate it out, being that it is an internal business unit. Until I saw this report, I didn't see it myself. My question is, what are the implications for utilities and roading for the UNR committee?
So this report doesn't go into that detail, but the Utilities and Roading Committee are given delegations by council. So that'll be, the intention would be that the Utilities and Roading Committee would still be able to consider water services matters within its delegation and to make recommendations to this, the council. So I'd say, by and large, the Utilities and Roading Committee will continue to function and include water services within its remit, although only within the delegations that we've given to it.
Thank you.
Philip?
Thank you. Jared, could you confirm that this proposed structure doesn't incur any increased governance costs?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Thank you.
Councillor Williams? Oh, Councillor Williams. I had a question. I'm assuming that that under the system, all councillors could attend the meetings, that they will be public meetings, and that all councillors would be able to attend anyway, regardless of who's on the committee, just like our other committees.
Yes, I can confirm that all councillors would be members of this. So that was the reason for putting it on the council rather than as a sub-portion of the Utility and Roading Committee.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams, you wish to move? Move seconder? Councillor Redmond.
Yes, no, I think this is a recommendation of the incoming council. All makes sense to me, so thank you.
Councillor Redmond.
Yes, I support the recommendation, and I'll just comment in F that we are a leader in this area, and there will be many benefits to ratepayers as a result of the stance we took, which reflected the views of ratepayers at the time and residents when they were consulted. So I think it's a good structure. We're avoiding the costs associated with the CCO, and as you've indicated, there are no increased governance costs expected from this proposal. So excellent.
Further speakers? To be none, right a reply. I'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Jared. 7.8. Again, recommendations. Jeff's not here. You're Jeff today?
Just for the report.
Thank you, Sarah.
So these recommendations to the incoming council effectively keep a very structured, similar structure to what we have currently operated the last couple of terms, which has been quite successful. And it authorises the Chief Executive the powers to make any necessary decisions during the interim period between the elections and new members being sworn in towards the end of October. Just on recommendation D, you'll notice under the council we've allocated water services in there, but also further down under the utilities and roading committee there would be another section in there, just under the drainage and three waters, there would be another one there for water services, which would be the more minor aspects related to water services that would need to feed into council later. But any of the big decisions will be coming directly through to council for water services.
Thank you, Sarah. Again, we're not going to get into the weeds. This is about recommendations only. So do we have any questions, Sarah? Paul wishes to move, he's indicating. No questions. Moved, Councillor Williams. Sorry. Oh, yes. I can't see it. Just, we need to, under D, just change 4 from the bottom there needs to change to water services, because that's the new identity rather than the explanation that's in there. So with that change, are you happy, Councillor Williams? Seconded by Councillor Mealings. Councillor Williams?
Yes, it's all straightforward, so thank you.
Councillor Mealings? No. Right a reply? No? I'll put that, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. I'll hand back.
Health and safety report, which is 8.1. Kelly.
Thank you. I'll take the report as read, and I'm happy to take any questions that I hopefully will be able to answer.
Thank you. Any questions of Kelly? Okay, someone prepared to move. Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Cairns. Did you wish to speak?
No.
Councillor Cairns, any further speakers? I'll put that all in favour. Please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Item 9.1, excuse me, Panamo Place, excuse me, Panamo Place Elm Tuka Road tree request, Ken. This is from a report referred from the Woody and Sefton Community Board. Would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. We'll take the report as read, but just, I guess, a bit of an update. Basically, we're requesting additional funds to remove 12 trees from Panamu Place and 6 trees from Tuku Road, trees that are causing significant damage to council infrastructure and also private property. And the reason we're requesting the funds because this money is not included in the Pegasus budget. So the Pegasus tree rate is allocated for program maintenance and juvenile tree replacement, not the replacement of mature trees. So we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Just quickly, in case I missed it in the report, the appropriateness of planting, is that something we are considering now of particular specimens and what is the right thing to go in areas rather than the wrong sort of tree which can create these sort of issues?
Yeah, yes, we are. So in 2017, the council adopted the tree maintenance policy, and section 4.7 refers to the selection of suitable species for the space. So back when Pegasus was developed, the tree planting strategy was pretty much guided by developers' visions of having traditional mature, traditional larger trees like the elms. And I guess over time it's proved that they're not suitable for the environment and not suitable in particular for Pounamu and Tuku Road. They're not suitable for the confined space. So having, I guess, adopted that strategy, or that policy rather, hopefully those improvements mean we've got safeguards against having the wrong tree in the wrong place.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Williams?
Yeah, just for the cost of this, will this go out for a small tender process, or, because we're at the moment of change of tree maintenance contractors?
Sorry, what was the question?
Will this be going out for a small tender?
No, the total cost is 11,250 to replace the 12, or to remove the 12 trees in elm and 6 trees in Tuku Road. So that wouldn't constitute a tender, it would constitute just quotes.
So you've got more than one quote though?
Oh, we've got one quote at this stage, but once funding's approved, we'll get additional quotes.
So you will get some more quotes?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? Do you have a question, Councillor Ward?
Just a more of a general question. When we plant in new trees around which, there's been quite a lot happening with the new subdivisions, how much failure of new trees do we experience through lack of water or lack of attention or lack of availability of water?
Well, with new subdivisions, the trees are the responsibility of the developer for the first 2 years before we take them over. And before we take them over, we do an assessment to make sure the trees are healthy. And if they're not healthy, then the developer is required to remediate that. And then our juvenile trees up to year 5 are on a watering program.
Councillor Meanings?
Just out of curiosity, with the failures of the trees in Pegasus, do you put that down to the sandy soil there, or to the fact that in new subdivisions they compact the living daylights out of the soil everywhere before they build on it now post-earthquake?
Yeah, Pegasus has had quite a harsh environment for trees to be able to thrive in, and we've seen that there with the amount of juveniles that we've currently got compared with the amount of mature trees that we'd expect to see now. Some of that has been due to the service placement and also the tree pits, or I guess conditions that we're actually putting the trees into. The original species that was selected didn't assist with that. So, it was really important that we kind of had that, I guess, moment to reflect on that and actually start to look at, well, okay, how are we going to get trees that grow in this environment? Number one, with the dry soil. Number two, with the salt incursion that we get there. Plus then also some of the restricted corridors that we have, which is classic for Pounamu and Tuka. Because even if they do thrive and they've got hardy roots, then they're going to damage other infrastructure.
Yeah, it seems a shame that it's rock in a hard place situation here. Yeah. But no, thank you.
Right. You're prepared to move, Councillor Atkinson, seconded Councillor Cairns. Would you like to speak?
Just to say that it's got to be the quickest discussion we've ever had on putting in and taking out trees that I've had in 21 years around the council table. So congratulations on the speed in the report. We need to do it.
Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, team, for putting the report together. It's a sensible solution and well supported by the local residents. Thank you.
And I support this recommendation. I've been lobbied about it at a number of meetings. I think it's the right decision. I've been around and had a look at it for myself, and it is quite bad, very bad in that area. And it was clear that they're not the appropriate tree for that environment. There's significant infrastructure repair required as well to our footpaths with the damage these trees have created there. And with the age of some of the residents in that particular locality as it is now, there are significant trip hazards there also. So this is the right decision. We'd rather not have to be taking trees out. I don't think anyone likes that call, and all the work we've done in Queen Street to try and keep that amenity there as well as other amenities, it takes me a lot to be persuaded to remove trees, especially when they're healthy. But in this instance, they're just not appropriate for that area. And we have to look at the safety of our community at the end of the day and what's right. And that's the decision that's the right one here. So I fully support it. Further speakers? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think with this discussion there's a germ of knowledge here about leaving some of these decisions in the first instance to the developer, particularly of a subdivision or a town, because ultimately their prerogatives are different to what the community might want and what the community might be left with. I can think of Ahokas Whananoa subdivisions. Sometimes they weren't roadside plantings, but we left with a whole gallery of different trees and different development and different pieces of infrastructure that were really just part of a developer's marketing plan. It's not a criticism of the developer, but it's like, well, where's the community input? Where's the council input right there at the start? So that's perhaps that's borne out here. That you know, the English maple and the oak and some developers' vision is not necessarily appropriate for the area. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Right to reply?
No, just to mention Councillor Fulton's last comment reminds me of a certain lake that we will inherit at some stage. So yes, developers do make up their own mind what they're putting in the right place, so guidelines are important.
Not sure which lake you're referring to, yeah, the Deputy Mayor. I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We have, thank you team, we have committee minutes for information. Items 10.1 to 10.5 to be received. Someone prepared to move? Councillor Fulton, seconded Councillor Bryan. I'll put those. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Community board minutes for information. Councillor Meetings, seconded by Councillor Blackie. I'll put those. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare those carried. Come to portfolio updates. I have nothing under iwi relationships. Nothing to update since the last partnership update because we haven't had a meeting since then. Government reforms, well, I think you're as over those as I am, with where all that's heading. Although I did note with interest an interview with the Prime Minister on News Talk ZB about a week or so ago, where he was talking about a fast track to speed up the fast track. So we'll see where that goes. Fasting up the fast track. I just thought that was an interesting saying that it had become quite delayed by standard RM processes, and as a result, they're not seeing the speed there. So we'll see where that gets to in due course, given that we've got a number of current processes that we're aware of underway under fast track. It will be interesting to see what the government may determine to do in that space further. Any questions on those three for me? Category water management, I think probably in the same category, Councillor Fulton, are you?
Well, just a quick note, and it pertains to our drinking water. Out there, some of you have seen these flyers, some of you have seen the Greenpeace campaigns. I think, putting election politics aside, they've conflated a whole lot of issues with nitrate and pollution of our rivers and streams with drinking water. And we are drinking water. We are public surprise. And I think it's really disappointing that in a message that comes out like this, that they can say, vote clean drinking water, and then go on and talk about what ECAN needs to do for our rivers and streams and what the dairy industry needs to do with nitrates. It's like you're basically literally scooping up a whole lot of issues and throwing our council under the bus. And you're fear-mongering. It really is fear-mongering, because we are responsible for public water supplies. We are responsible for going out to the public and telling them to get their wells tested. So I think that's it's disappointing and predictable, and it's really wrong. So it's just something that it's another example of what are our relationships, particularly with Greenpeace. I don't think you can really trust that kind of stuff when it's going on. So I know that's a bit harsh, but there it is.
And the MAV levels, which is acceptable nitrates, has actually been published. And in fact, Te Mata ROI have have, if not are, still considering in that space around that, because when those campaigns kicked off about 18 months ago, we did raise with Alan Pragnell and others around that, because we had a particular group in Oxford that were focused on that, and when we looked into it, there wasn't the concern that was being expressed. So, and I think ECAN, in the space of declaring whatever they did a week or two ago back, again was a bit of a stunt, and it does. I remember last time round the level of issue that we were having to deal with some people coming here, and Jared will recall, thinking that their water suppliers had concern. Well, they didn't. There were a couple of wells. There was one in Ahoka that they did a measurement from, but their well was so shallow, and you know, no wonder there was issue that came from. It wasn't the council's fault.
It was a misread.
It was and it was a misread. So yeah, so those, but don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. So that's what happened last time. So I am, like you, disappointed with where Greenpeace is at. They actually could have worked with councils where there was concerns and did something that was more positive in this direction, rather than creating a fear-mongering campaign, which they have done, which, to be honest, as we've discovered, is unfounded and just unnecessarily upsets people. We take public water here very seriously, and it's why we've put significant investment in over many, many years, and will continue to do so. So points well made, Tim. Any questions of Tim? It was a question of you, Tim, I think. Yeah, that is made. Climate change, sustainability, Nikki.
Thank you. Yeah, in the vein of a question to Tim, that particular well that you referred to, Mr. Mayor, was actually, it was a misread. It said something like 23 or 30 milligrams, like several times over the MAV, and it was actually so incorrect, it ended up being one of the lowest ones that they tested. And meanwhile, it scared the daylights out of the poor people that owned the well. And yeah, that was just, it's not on. Sorry, going to my report. This is my last climate change and sustainability and biodiversity report of the term, so I'm afraid I'm not going to be as fast as you guys. So just regarding the Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan, which all 10 Canterbury councils have signed under, there's quite a few deliverables in there, and just a bit of a update on what's going on with that. The Canterbury Climate Ecosystem Risk and Vulnerability Assessment deliverables are on track to be delivered by the 3rd of October for the draft, with the final deliverables by 7th of November, and then that's going to go in to inform the Blue-Green Network project, which our council is leading for Canterbury. With the Canterbury Risk Visualization Tool, also known as REX, Resilience Explorer, you've heard me talk about that a lot. Christchurch City Council is going to be running a webinar outlining their experience of developing and using it for relevant staff at Canterbury councils, like asset managers, hazard area planners, GIS, mapping staff, all those kind of guys. Just to kind of show them what it can do and how they use it, because it really is a brilliant tool. While we've got it, the Christchurch City Council is operating at a much more sophisticated level than we are, because they have had it for the longest. I think they were probably the first to take it on. So it'll be really good to sort of see what they're doing with it, and how it applies and can be useful for their staff and planning. And with regard to emissions reduction, there's the project team for the development of a regional low emissions transition strategy has organized a stakeholder workshop to be held at the Rangiora Main Power Stadium at the end of October to identify and test possible emissions reduction opportunities and interventions. Some of the stakeholders that are going to be invited to that include industry across the transport, agriculture, land use, waste, energy sectors, Mana Whenua, central government, local government, elected member, climate champions, youth council, pretty much everybody that has an interest in that sort of thing. So that will be quite interesting to see how they get on with that. And then, now that was the CCPP. Now going on to the, going rather back to the Resilience Explorer, which is our risk assessment portal. So there was an online meeting of private and public organizations who use the Resilience Explorer, which was facilitated by Urban Intelligence, who developed that. And all those people that were there agreed to form a user community that could meet every couple months to share experiences, develop best practice, and ultimately advance our adaptation, planning, and resilience journeys. So that can only be a good thing. Our project team and Urban Intelligence are meeting to consider whether additional data layers, whether there are additional layers that we'd like to add. For example, we can put our new district plan development areas on there, which obviously would be a good thing, because if we're going to build more houses in a place, we'd really like to know what risks they're going to be exposed to so that we can plan ahead and build better communities from the outset. So that makes very good sense. Recently at the Youth Council, they had a Future Voices workshop for a project that is to obtain youth views around climate change and resilience that they want to put together into a booklet for the new council to consider. And yeah, the workshop went well at Youth Council. And then talking about climate scenarios, in 2025, several councils joined together to create a local government sector scenarios report and implementation guidance document. Now, we were one of those 35 councils, as well as staff from the DIA, Taitoa, Local Government New Zealand, who all contributed to the project by going to the stakeholder workshops. Now, the scenario report is intended to help councils think about how climate change will impact their ability to deliver services into the future, because it will. Supporting those scenarios is guidance for council officers and how to use them internally to workshop how climate change is going to impact their organizations and tailor that to right down to specific district council types and contexts, which again is very important. Again, we cannot afford to look past the risks and plan for them. So it was quite interesting how they boiled down what's a lot of really technical information into 3 different plausible scenarios. Scenario one is acting now for our mokopuna, which is, pulling out all the stops, acting now, net zero 2050. Okay, scenario 2, leaving it to the next generation, i.e. kicking the can down the road. So a delayed transition, that's a 2.7 degree by 2100. Or scenario 3, which they dubbed inheriting a broken world, which is pretty much if we carry on as we are, business as usual under our current policies, that's gonna land us with a 3.9 degree or more raise by 2100. So those scenarios really just explore different differences in timing and what kind of climate action. So reducing emissions on building resilience creates transition risk, for an example, whilst higher temperature creates physical risk. So pretty much we encounter the pain now, so that's the transition risk, it costs more and it's this and that. Or, okay, we don't do any of that. We just carry on and everything's fine until it's not, and then we have physical risk. So acting early leads to that higher short-term transition, but reduces the long-term exposure to the physical impacts, and conversely, not reducing emissions leads to the physical risks rising exponentially to 2100 and beyond. So, current policies indicate a significant increase in cost and disruption over time that we'll have to consider. Everyone's going to have to weigh those things up. Anyway, on that fun note, I'll move on to the biodiversity team update. Our biodiversity team has been very, very busy, and they have been doing all kinds of things. They've had a few events. They have been doing several plantings, education events. They've been giving advice, expert witness reports on resource consents and whatnot, visiting community members and giving advice and reports for restoration plans, ecological reports, impact assessments, global consents for our council projects, SNAs, monitoring reserves. We've also had several PhD and Masters of Science students and an intern doing field research here in various projects, which is a real benefit, I think, for both waimakariri and the students. And the biodiversity team have been doing a really great job of encouraging the collaborations like that with our universities. And we talk about how we want to work with universities and research on that. Well, we're actually doing that, so it's really good to see that happening. There's been a lot going on in our natural reserves, like Matawai, Ohoka, Silverstream, Ashley Gorge. I mean, there's too much to list, so I won't go there. The draft Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy, which has been a huge piece of work, that was adopted at the 17th of September ECAN Council meeting, which marked the culmination of a couple of years' worth of collaborative process with a wide range of stakeholders, including us. It continues a strong direction from the previous strategy to first protect what remains and secondly restore what was lost. Now, once that is finalized, which is shortly, it will be published on the Environment Canterbury website if you want to have a look. And lastly, some of you may have seen the development has begun on a new food forest in Northbrook wetlands over the last week. Thank you, good sir, across the table. And I know I and my community board colleague down the end of the table in the gallery there took part in a planting event organized by locals, supported by the community board, the Oxford-Ahoka Community Board in Mandeville at the old Wards Road and Tram Road intersection, which was really well attended last Tuesday. About 30-odd people turned out, which was pretty awesome. And I know also over the weekend, the Youth Council, together with the Ashley Waimakariri River Group, et cetera, organized their annual river cleanup. So there are lots of great things happening around Waimakariri. So that's just a few of them.
Thanks, Nikki. Any questions of Nikki?
Just a quick one, actually. Not that I was cribbing on your notes or anything, but seeing what you... but I just wondered, with the climate change scenarios, is this a sort of advice or recommendation? How would you characterise it, since it's come from the broad sort of LGNZ and it's, you know, so is it applicable specifically to Waimakariri, or is it something that all council can just sort of consider and weigh up? Sort of,
We've had our own more granular report come as to how we think that climate change will affect us. So there is that, but whilst reducing emissions is something I think that is everybody's responsibility, we're looking around the world and not seeing the big guys do what they need to do. So in addition to that, yes, we should do the right thing, but in addition to that, we also need to be prepared for whatever track that we're heading for. So it's, you know, it's a how long's a piece of string, but that's why they have a thing called dynamic adaptive pathways. So that's basically however long your piece of string is, act accordingly, basically, in a nutshell. So.
And the second one, just quickly, was just the roadside planting. And the Wards Road, I commend, you know, the people behind that, including yourself and Sarah. That's great at Wards Road. Do we have a policy for sort of ribbons of roadside planting where we have the right place and the right plant in the right area? And I saw recently a whole stand of kānuka out at Airwell, which grows very well out there, but it might not grow somewhere else. When we develop and build new roads, are we thinking ribbons of planting along roadside verges so that we can...
In the natural environment strategy, it talks about right plant, right place, and also favoring natives over exotics. So, and when you plant natives, you generally try to get things that are eco-sourced, as in grown locally from locally procured seed, and that are appropriate for the ecological district. So that's something that we're trying to transition to. But of course, you know, yeah, there's room for exotic things as well. But you know, that comes down to developers and people's personal preference. But for us, we do have a preference for planting natives, which of course are the right thing in the right place. So,
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Mealings. International relationships and property and housing, the Deputy Mayor.
Nothing on international relations. Property, just the pensioner units just waiting on their building consent to actually physically be issued on paper, and then they'll be taking up all the groundwork's done and ready to start.
Just on international relationships, can I just thank you for your the role you've played in guiding that, and especially our role, the Passchendaele Advisory Group in particular. My understanding from what you've advised me is that the RSA may well be appointing you there, which would be, I think, would be a fantastic result. And if they don't, should let us know in due course, because your skill set would be great to continue there with your knowledge of and passion for that particular relationship we have. So just to say thank you, Neville, for that service. All right. Any questions of the Deputy Mayor? I have no questions, understanding orders. There's no urgent general business. We now move to matters to be considered with the public excluded, and they're listed there for the reasons. Someone prepared to move that we go into public excluded for those reasons? Councillor Fulton, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried.